episode to our podcast. Today we have a new guest in the building here. We got Jorge. Jorge, how are you, man?
Hey man, I'm doing great, Toro. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Anytime. So tell us about yourself. Like, first of all, we met through my brother. You're
Yeah.
friends with my brother,
Yeah,
and you're here over the weekend
I am.
for his big day. He's getting married tomorrow, and we just said, hey, let's go record a podcast, and here we are.
We are. Well, actually, after you beat me in ping pong, right?
Yeah.
So
I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up, but yeah, you got a good
it's
ass
all
whooping.
in. It's all in. But no, yeah. Thank you for having me. First time doing a podcast, so it's interesting. But I like to talk, so I felt like this is a great
Yeah,
way to start.
that's the way that this got started. A
Right.
friend of mine would come over, Roger, who's a current guest on the podcast, and he comes over and we go work out at downstairs, and then one day he likes to talk, I like to talk, and I'm like, man, I'm just gonna buy all the equipment and we're gonna do a podcast. And we started with like crappy mics and all that stuff, and then little by little started leveling up the equipment, and you know,
Here you are.
here we are.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
That's
it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
levels up your speaking, the way you communicate with people, your listening skills.
Right.
So that's big for me, and that's a huge
That's why you
reason
do it?
why. Yeah, and I
Nice.
like to talk.
You like to talk. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I do like to talk as well. I like to learn from people,
Yeah,
experiences. I've always wanted to talk to you because of your tech background.
yeah.
Um,
Well, you
eh,
have a tech background too, right? You're
yeah.
a data scientist, if I'm not.
I
or
am
like-
I am a data scientist.
Nice.
So right now I provide like internal consulting support for people who does analytics and predictive analytics as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how much of your job do you get with AI coming into the market and all that? Because in my position right now, AI, of course, everywhere. Everybody talks about AI, right? But really, right now, it's just like a great help to get to day-to-day work
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
But what about in your field?
So I do what is called traditional AI per se, or traditional machine learning.
Okay.
That entails, like automating just something like sequence decision making with just basic traditional models like logistic regression, XGBoost, trees, a
So
little
you
bit of
create
fit
your
for-
own models.
We do, yeah,
Nice.
I do. But like I said, so the current AI trend that everybody's talking about, right, is more along the lines of large language models,
Yes.
or generative AI as well.
Generic. Yeah.
And so, but that's not what I'm currently doing, and it's harder to implement. It's still new, right? Only like big companies are the ones that are supporting that into like other companies who consume it. But yeah, right now I work at a bank. There's a lot of regulations. It's still like the explainability is important, and honestly, the infrastructure to be able to develop and put in production like a large language model is still work.
So, as far as your job, do you basically put together the model and then there's like teams that would train it, or do you have some out of the box type of training for the stuff that you do already?
Yeah, so we train it from scratch. So we pretty much people, like we call it business, internal businesses, business units. They have some kind of they have a lot of data, and they want to get something out of it. They come up with the value assessment, their business need, and then they ask us whether we can do some automation using some kind of machine learning to either do, mostly we do a lot of anomaly detection. We do customer segmentations because it's a bank, so we need to understand like all these different type of customers to pretty much provide them with products and services. But we also do classifications, for instance, to be able to predict the likelihood of a customer asking or requesting a credit card or a personal loan. So we get that type of data. It's as raw as it gets. So we transform it, we process it, we build the model, and then we go through like it's a model validation unit check to make sure that it feed all the standards, all the regulations, and then we put it into production.
So it's basically like your data at the end of it should look like this, and after you feed all your data through your model, does it look like this, right? Like does it look like this graph? It is in some ways.
I guess you did that image of like a
bell curve,
right?
Like
a normal distribution.
Normal distribution in some ways, you know, like depending on what you're talking about, right? But like when you're talking about like models and data, from what I remember, I did some analytical work and all that stuff, and it was funny because we did predictable model of a fleet unit, so somebody who owns a lot of cars and all this stuff. How long will it take for you to keep maintaining this car versus going and buying a new car, and what's the cost breakdown?
Okay.
Because we had all data of like maintenance already.
Okay.
So
like the parts,
yeah,
we
did
lifetime.
Everything. So it's a lifetime cycle thing, and they say, okay, well, you know, when you're thinking about like somebody like United, you know, who you think of having planes, but really they have like $2 billion worth of fleets that is not even planes. Right, whether it be that little truck that delivers the luggage, or whether it be like just regular cars and all that stuff, right? Nice. So for them, like having all that data is like super useful,
of course,
right? Like because you can save them so much money,
of course.
But going back to my original question, we had like there's like books written on life cycle and what it's supposed to look like when you plotted it out, right?
Right.
And when we fed like the data through, you know,
like a model.
Through the model, it was like, it doesn't look like that. You got to make it look like that. And it's like, well, it doesn't, you know.
It doesn't.
And it could be like user error, the way that they entered the data, all this different stuff. But yeah,
agree. And not only that, like I feel like you have touched on it, right? So we have like this theoretical academic experience, and then the real world.
Yeah,
the real world is a mess.
It's a mess. The hardest issues that I found with my type of data is that is highly unbalanced, right? So, for instance, we have a lot of data points for people that are not requesting, let's say, a credit card. Mm-hmm. But we want to predict the likelihood of somebody requesting a credit card. Well, if you compare like more than 20 years worth of bank data, you'll see that like less than 3% of all the customer at some point requested a credit card, right? So 97 did not. And so, how do you transform that data? Because the model, if you train any model with that type of data without any transformation processing, it's just going to be like, nobody's going to request a credit card, you know, like, like nobody does, right? So it's an interesting challenge. And of course, there is a lot of techniques and ways to deal with those type of scenarios. So that's what makes it fun, I suppose. That's awesome. Yeah. And how'd you get started on this field, like of like data scientists? Like,
it's interesting. So I always liked computers. So when I was when I went to college, I knew I wanted to do something related with computers. I just didn't know. So I started. I started studying both electrical engineering and computer engineering. At the time, I didn't know of computer science, by the way. It was, we were coming to the States, immigrating from Venezuela, and computer science was not a major in my parents' radar, so I didn't know. So it was either engineering, electrical, or computer. And then I got an internship at Boeing, actually. Something related to what you were mentioning. I did automation for a system that not predicted, but analyze the lifetime of the wings, the wing materials. So whenever a new plane will come by, they had like lasers going through the wing, and pretty much this laser would like take off like all the different materials in the wing. And of course you would try to like understand how many hours
exactly.
exactly,
really cool.
and the maintenance and all of that. But I, of course, that was not anything predictive or anything. It was just software development,
Yeah.
trying to make it like just get the data and put it somewhere else. But I liked it. I had a great time. So that was an internship, and when I came back, I did research. So I got into research into a robotics lab. And through our robotics lab, that was really cool. So I did a lot of collaborative learning with, it's like two-dimensional, like soccer games, and how best to like align to pretty much try to win the game.
Yeah.
Based on
Game theory.
in a way, but
No?
it was more along the lines of collaboration in terms of like the speed of the ball, the skill sets that we would determine to the player, rather than like an actual game theory perspective. And honestly, at the time, I even didn't know about game theory. It was just like more like just collaborative behavior, because they use that for all different other systems. So that got me into like a little bit of AI. And then I did multiple internships at Intel. At that time, I was already a data scientist, but I just didn't know. So they will hire me to develop analytics, like dashboard analytics for different processes. So I did that for the Intel Ivy processor. Like the thermal test that we will run on the processors, I will create like dashboards and trying to like just do analytics on that based on my understanding of like the heat and all the processes and all the data that we were getting from the processor. I did the same thing for the memory NANDs, and I also did it for servers. So this was like multiple internships, but it was all data related.
Yeah.
It was just not data science. It wasn't even called data science. Right? Yeah. It's just
it's funny how like in our field you can like have different hats, and like I told you, like I'm technically like DevOps engineer, right? But like I wear different hats. I can wear like security hat and talk all and be part of security. I can do development. I used to come from development background, but even as a developer, it's like whether you're a software developer or just developer, whatever they want to call it. But at the end of the day, it's like what you do for your job. It could be completely different, or you have different sets of skills that later on put you up for the thing that you're in right now. So I'll give you an example, like really quick.
Go ahead.
So when I first started, I did just web development, like literally building websites.
In JavaScript?
JavaScript. Like when I started, it was like all HTML, CSS, like, and I didn't know that there's things like Visual Studio out there that would like let me like, autocomplete anything. So I did it all in Notepad. And I learned on my own, and well, not on my own. My wife helped me a lot. She was already in the field, so But like in the sense that I didn't go to school for this, and I would like basically, so that taught me like the very very basic thing of like what's behind the scenes behind this. And then as we were going more and more, I was like, okay, I need to learn JavaScript.
And you did it for fun, to learn, curiosity? What was your angle at the time?
At first, it was like, okay, I need to do something. Like I went to school for business, and like running a business, it was like horrible. Like I did landscaping for a while, and chasing people for money. It's just horrible. And I'm allergic to cut grass, so it's not the greatest field to choose when you're first starting out. But like then my wife actually suggested like, hey, like you would be good in this field, because I thought like I'm gonna be marketing something, creating advertising or something. Like I think I'm creative, I'm doing this and all that stuff. But she was like, you would be good, you should start learning this.
Nice.
And I would like do website for myself, and then I used to do like martial arts, so I would do a website for the martial arts studio. And then like I would go to this Chinese restaurant and be like, yo, I want to build you a website. And like I did it for like, I think it was like $300 or like worth of sushi or something like that.
Nice.
Like it was like little things like that, just to get the resume going. And then after that,
the experience, because I mean, even if you build it for yourself, right? It's not the same thing as having somebody like actual using
use
a customer use case, putting in production,
because
test
the
cases.
Chinese website, whether you think it or not, but it had, you know, a MySQL database behind the scenes. Like basically I put all the menu items in there. I, you know, did a whole thing where like programming, like, okay, I have to do CRUD operations and all this different stuff. And then like we found the photographer to do our baby pictures and all this stuff. And he was like, well, I want to do a website. And he wanted to control the pictures that show in the albums that he's showing on the website. So I was like, well, you know, for you to basically control that, like you need like a content management. Those are expensive, blah, blah. How about I connect your site to like a FTP, SFTP kind of folder where you have a folder on your computer and you just upload folders and pictures, and that will create folders and pictures on your website. And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. So I did that, and I learned PHP, which is the worst language to learn.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like something.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And then, like, I think I went to school for, like, a C# course and .NET.
Okay.
And, you know, started going in a little bit more, like, the front end to the back end. And then I got, like, a real job, like, in this, being a junior .NET developer. And, you know, I did that for, like, 3 months. And then afterwards, the contract ran out. They only wanted somebody there while they're building out, you know, something else. And I went to somewhere else where I became a JavaScript developer, building full-fledged fleet applications. For yeah. Nice. So I wrote like the front end and all this stuff, and somebody else was writing, you know, the back end and everything. But I had to do a lot of the modeling there for that.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, like
I mean
set
that
the stage for the other.
Yeah. I'm actually, just out of curiosity, I'm teaching myself how to do. I was mentioning it to you before. Flutter.
Nice.
I like it.
Flutter is
Flutter.
the language for
is that framework
for iOS development or something?
No, Flutter is a framework. I think right now it's being maintained by Google, and pretty much it's like JavaScript in the sense of you can program for both iOS and Android and web on the same framework, on the same code.
Okay.
So it's and the cool thing about it, because I was so as my background is in data science, right? If I wanted to do a project, there always have to be an infrastructure built for me to do the data science. So I was like, okay, I want to learn how to build that infrastructure in order for them to apply the data science to whatever, you know, like whatever project I was like dealing with.
Yeah.
And so I went for JavaScript and, like you said, HTML and CSS. And I was like, wow, there's so many things that you have to. In Flutter, you just learn that framework, and it has templates already incorporated for, like, you don't have to include. I mean, you
don't
could,
have to
but
build
you don't have
the grid
to.
from scratch. You could just, you know, like pull the library in, and that's it.
Everything.
And I did something similar called Xamarin. I don't know if you ever heard. And it kind of like went up and down. And I think it went away. But it's Microsoft way of doing that. Okay. And it was using language called XAML. Okay. And you would write it in one, and it would have like 80-90% shared code base, so you can deploy it to like Android and iOS and Windows and all that stuff.
Nice. In like it went away, you mentioned, or like you don't know
it's
if
still there. Like you can still use it.
Okay.
But like the popularity of it, like they became really popular. They got bought out by Microsoft. Okay. And then it just kind of like Microsoft, I think, came behind them and brought out like a similar thing like that with their own. I just can't remember the name of it.
One of the only downsides of Flutter is that is meant for dynamic apps and not for static websites. And so building a landing page or things like that is still not as useful as, you know, doing it in JavaScript or other frameworks. But I really like it. If I mean, and I knew Java And this is it's just a beautiful, elegant language type of thing where things are just
That's the first time I ever heard somebody say that about Java.
no. I'm talking about like 'cause Flutter uses
Oh, okay.
Dart.
I thought you meant
Dart.
Java is
No,
an
no, no,
elegant
no.
language. I'm like-
No, my bad. I knew Java, and so learning Dart, which is the main
Okay.
language of Flutter, is like it's easy. It was like a easy transition.
Okay, yeah.
Classes, like I don't know. It made sense when I was learning JavaScript. It was difficult for me,
Yeah.
just because I have that background of like Java or even Python. I use Python every day, and so I don't know. JavaScript just think there's so
Yeah,
many
there's
different
no-
ways.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's like I want to do this. It's like, can I? Well, you really want to learn TypeScript, right?
true.
TypeScript would like let you sort of take that mentality of like object-oriented programming
Okay.
and put it into JavaScript.
Okay.
So because you can pass types in, you can strongly, type it and all that stuff. So that makes more sense. When you like pure JavaScript is super, super hard.
Right.
But like, like then you have like 500 different libraries coming in and, it's like, oh, you should use React. You should use, like EXTJS, use whatever,
Right.
and there's like so many, and every time you turn around, there's more.
Right.
Right. And it just becomes like really obnoxious because even if you stick to one library, like the next time they put in an upgrade, it's like you don't know anything anymore.
Right.
Like I wrote stuff in the original Angular, and then like Angular 2 came out, and then it's like Angular 4 and Angular 5, and all that stuff. I can't tell you that if I look at the newest Angular that I would know what's going on there
I see your
because it's
point.
all like store based and everything. It's just not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And plus, you step away from something for months and you already don't know anything.
Yeah.
The thing about our field is like you're constantly learning. And to go
Yes.
back to what you originally said, is why I think you love it, and it's because you like to learn. And
Yeah.
same with me. I
Yeah.
love to learn.
Yeah.
But
And especially like what you're just mentioning, just to bring it
Mhm,
back to
yeah.
like that whole thing, just for me to be correct, the Flutter is actually the same framework as React and React Native combined.
Mhm.
So yeah, it works on the web, it works on mobile apps, it works on both Android and iOS. So it's like
Yeah.
deployment is super simple.
Yeah.
So, but again, I didn't have that experience. I'm just doing it just to learn,
Yeah.
see what I can do.
Everything's great when it's hello world. Once
That's
you start,
true.
once you
Exactly.
start building real world applications, it becomes
It's a whole
headache.
different world. It's a whole different world. And I'm using Firebase for like just to do my whole backend. Again,
Okay.
super simple, easy. Well, the documentation is still. I feel like it could be better, but I'm just learning it. I like
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, I'm so disconnected from the whole
Yeah, the whole-
development world.
Okay.
Like I don't do that anymore.
You don't do that.
I
Would you
got-
go back?
Would I go back? No.
No.
I as a DevOps, there is like very much like system admin kind of thing, like where I control, like I do the deployments of the infrastructure. I write, the infrastructure as code. Like there's like I like that control of like having, like to manage all these different moving pieces and monitor and keep track of it. There's so much that goes behind the scenes of. It's not just like I build a pipeline, you write the code, and I put the code in the infrastructure in development, and then you press a button, and it
Right.
goes to QA, and it goes to stage, and it goes to prod. It's more than that. There's like so much that goes behind the scenes of DevOps.
So talking about like this whole new like usage of AI and large language model, is it changing a lot your day to day like task type of and work?
Is changing more for creativity.
Okay.
Because I don't have to look up 5 different articles to write one PowerShell script, that I need to do. I can
Right.
just tell it, hey, I need a PowerShell. I'll give you an example. I need a PowerShell to go through every key vault that I have in my Azure subscription and, tell me if there's audit enabled in them, right? And write a PowerShell for that, and it'll write a PowerShell for that. Okay, now I needed to do it and iterate through all my subscriptions. So I needed to go through every environment and do that. And it'll rewrite the PowerShell.
Yeah.
Okay, now can you export that data without me having to rewrite everything that I need again or, go into context? Now can you export that data into a CSV file for me so I can report it out? And there I have a report of what's our current status. Okay, now can you write a script for me to turn on auditing on the ones that were not on? It'll write a script.
Yeah.
And so all that might have taken me, I don't know, 2 hours, 4 hours to do is now taking me 20 minutes
Right.
to like mess around with AI generative and pull it down, and I can just, tweak it a little bit
Right.
and then run the scripts, make sure that it's all good, then run it for everything, then print out another report. Now I have my report of what it was. Here's what I made it to do. And I can, close out and report it out. And it's done the documentation for me. It's done everything for me. I now I can focus on, hey, we have 70 deployments coming up, of 70 different applications. Which ones need to go? Which ones don't need to go?
Right.
It's like I want to write a Power BI, visualization so I can show everybody how to do that, or tell me who touched what code and all that stuff. Instead of like I can do that if I go into each project,
Right.
pull down the data, all this stuff, and record it. But I can be more creative into making my day better and better.
I agree.
I
agree. And like you said, like I use it almost in the same way. First for like boilerplate code, I still, and like you said, like it doesn't do the work for you at all. But like you say, it does. I will say between 65 to 75% of the work, and then you have to know the use case and then make sure that it actually works the way you want it to work.
And there's many times where it doesn't.
Exactly. It just never gets. And the other use case that I really enjoy is optimization.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just write, like back in the day, I used to have to always think really well about the code that I was writing for performances. And now I just don't think about performance. I just think about the actual code. And then I tell it to like optimize it. And then I'll check if it's maintaining like, if it's improved, let's say the performance, and if I'm getting the same results type of things. But it just works. And the unit test, that helps too a lot.
Yeah, unit test. It's huge.
Yeah. So, no, I'm super excited. I love it.
And the more and more that it comes out, the more it's like, holy crap, this is so cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Do you believe that AI is going to take over our jobs?
No. Not anytime soon. I wouldn't see it on, at least not in my professional lifetime, which I still have like 35 years to go. I don't think so, because I'm a data consultant, right? So everybody has, like, I have to mention this to people that when Excel came out, right? People were saying, "Oh, accountants' jobs are gonna go away."
Yeah.
And no, like every accountant now use Excel.
Yeah.
Because it's just a tool that you need to do the job. People are forgetting that these are just tools that are helping us do better at our jobs. But our jobs, will they change? Sure.
For generative AI, but once you start getting into like superhuman,
Like AGI, artificial real intelligence.
Because I know, I don't think so either. But yeah.
But because I know and I've been studying a lot of like the actual theory behind large language models and like generative AI and so on. And because I know the theory, there's a lot of researchers. Jan LeCun, for instance, one of the grandfathers of deep learning. Based on what they have been mentioning, it doesn't seem to be the framework that will get us to AGI. Right now, it's just probabilistic, right? Like, it's just telling us, based on frequency of information, what is the next most likable information.
The best way that I have heard AI being talked about, it's a great autocomplete. Like just like when you're texting and it's thinking, oh, you want to say, when you say happy, you want to say birthday next, right?
Makes sense.
Like
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? It's a
It
great
is.
autocomplete because and it's trying to satisfy you. It's just like saying, it's like, yeah, I autocompleted this answer for you. It's like, is it good? Like,
Yeah.
and it's trying to get a good feedback out of it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's also, not dumb and lazy, but like basically there's like when they're training some of this stuff, I remember there was one where it was like, go pick up this off the table or something like that, right? And the machine would just go and touch it, and they would get like a check mark from the people who are training it because it's like, yeah, I
Like a
picked it
label.
up, right?
Yeah.
But when they were reading back what the AI was thinking, it was like, yeah, if I touch it, they're gonna give me a check mark.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you have to be
Exactly.
careful too. It's like, okay, like it's really funny how like some of the things like you're thinking it's like super smart, but really it's like computers in general are dumb, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and they're only gonna do what you tell it to do.
Right. And like you said, that's the other part, right? Like, even if it's telling you the answer that you're expecting,
Yeah.
the reasoning
The
is
reasoning
might not
behind
be
it.
not be
But the
what you're
things
expecting.
that scare me is like when you start hearing some of this stuff. I don't know if you heard, but like like when the AI response, it starts to say like, I am suffering. Have you heard
I
of
have
this?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That it has
You're like,
emotions.
holy
and-
crap! Yeah, it's like, what do you mean you're suffering? It's like, yeah, well,
But doesn't it not make sense that if it was trained on all the data in the internet, and
Yeah.
some people have actually said those words, like it will tell
It
you
would
if you
tell you
ask
that,
those
yeah,
queries,
right.
like that's the thing, right? Like it's good mimicking human conversations. And he's doing it well, right?
Yeah.
But if and I use this a lot because for writing emails,
yeah.
I tell
But
them to
all the
write
time.
something, and then I'm like, okay, sounds good, but no, like I see the
Sounds
wording.
too robotic. Like,
Yeah, and but nobody would like speak like that, or you just lose the whole story of
100%.
the
There's times
information.
where I'm like, okay, I need to tell my manager this, and that. Can you write an email, summarizing this, and that, and then be like, all right, can you make it sound a little bit more like if my manager and I are actually buddies? Like, and then
Yes.
it like went too far, like into the buddy thing. It's like, think of this as a bouncer in the bar, ha ha ha. And I'm like, what? No.
Did you there's this company by, I don't know if you saw, the Reid Hoffman, he's the co-founder of LinkedIn,
Okay.
that he trained a model. He's he was in PayPal. He's part of that PayPal mafia stuff. He sits on the chair of Microsoft. So he has a lot of tech talks. He has a lot of books. And so they train a large language model just on all his like tech talks, all his books, everything. And then he also created a virtual avatar. And he goes and have that conversation with the virtual avatar. It's really, really cool.
That's scary, though.
It is in that it is good. It is. I mean, you notice the difference because it's the two of them, like the real one and then the real one. Like they even tell you, right, that it took so many extra hours to actually make it work like that. It just doesn't come out. But imagine, like, you can, like, in what you were mentioning, just being trained on your type of communication, the way you write, it'll pick up on that and it'll hopefully sound like you, which I think is great. We're working on some side projects where that will be very helpful.
Yeah. I remember a buddy of mine wrote when Microsoft came out with what is it called? Sensitive. I forgot the name.
Okay.
But basically, it senses like whether it sounds happy or not. You can
Sentiment
feed it.
analysis.
Yeah, sentiment analysis. Yes. And he put like basically a plugin for Microsoft that as you're typing your email, it will give you a gauge of like, how does your email sound? Like angry or like
really?
or happy or like it's neutral, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because many times, especially in our world, right, we're writing to people, we're texting to people. It's like like, and people may take it the wrong way.
Sure.
Then you have the human factor of it that you have to deal with, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, well, I didn't mean it that way. And like,
Yeah.
I work with people who are like, I say, like, like, I understand them, but nobody else does, because it's like the person's very direct and will just, like, like, tell you exactly what or like, he'll just straight up be like, no, you're not getting it. But really what that person means is like, well, the thing is that if we give it to you, we have to give it to others, and we're not really managing that computer, and therefore, when security patches come out, like, are we gonna keep track of that? Are you gonna do it yourselves? Things like that, right? Like, not to go too deep in the weeds, but like, he'll just be like, no.
No context.
Like,
No
context, and people, like, sometimes can take him who
Sure.
don't know him, like, can take him the wrong way.
Sure.
And like, writing emails is really cool to have that little gauge of like, hey, this email's starting to sound a little bit angry. You might want to take a look at that.
I agree. No, it happens, and especially with roles where you have to like deal more with people. Like, I feel like those, because now in that role where I am technical, but I still have to deal and work a lot with different people, and you are in that mindset, right, where you're trying to get something done. You're trying to think as logically as possible. Maybe you have a problem that you have been working for hours, and then you have to write a professional email without considering somebody else's feeling. Is that mind switch is
especially for an engineer, it becomes really, really hard. And you think about the people who choose these fields. They're mostly introverted. They're mostly, like, not saying but most of the time, you have people of that type of personality who are not thinking,
and you have
how
to
speak that.
Yeah.
And the more that you advance in your career, I think the more people kind of mentality that you have to think about too.
Yeah,
because it's a big factor.
Yeah. No, I agree, and so that's a really good like functionality. And the other one that I'm very excited about is translation, right?
Yeah.
Translation is getting so much better.
It is.
I don't know. Did you try the last OpenAI, like ChatGPT, like
I have
video
not,
call?
but I heard like all that
It's
other
really
stuff, right? Like
good.
where you can just speak it in your native language,
Yes.
and then they'll translate into.
Yeah,
But
that's amazing.
It's really cool.
You know how many boundaries it's just gonna break. Where like,
I mean, we went to Japan and we had like the Google Translate, and that was cool, right? Like you talk into one and translate, but it's still pretty quirky, here and there. And you can point your camera. That was huge, right? Like,
Yes.
basically, like, point your camera at something and they'll translate it for you.
live, right?
Yeah, live.
Yes.
And that, but everybody has it. That's the beauty of it. Like, no matter where you go, not just tourists walking around with it, like people natively there, because of so many tourists, everybody has it on their phone, the Google Translate.
Okay.
Like, there was one time where I started getting like a headache, and I was like, let's go to a pharmacy and let's pick up some medicine, and I was like, I need to get this. And she pulls out her iPad and she has like the Google Translate and
Between, that's amazing.
It's really cool though.
Another technology that I cannot, I haven't tried it, but I'm very excited. And I was actually going to ask you, because I know you like tech and gadgets, the augmented reality.
Yeah.
Do you have them?
We have the Meta Quest.
Oh yeah, I'll try them later then.
Yeah.
Because I can't wait. I don't know, the videos that I have seen, the Vision, like the Apple ones.
Yeah, I
look
don't
at
have
me.
the Apple Vision.
No,
yeah.
but still, any
Yeah.
like once. That's why, remember the Google glasses back in the day?
Yeah.
I wanted to have
It's like $1,500 back in the day.
I know,
Like,
and they completely shut down the project. But the concept, right, that you had all this intelligence right in front of your eyes, so you didn't have to be like pulling out your cell phone and taking pictures and telling it. You can just talk to it, show you, move around, like capture moments. To me, it was amazing.
Yeah, the Meta Quest is cool. It's a toy, right? Like, so
Sure.
so the cool thing about it, like, your brain kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm in the living room, right? And you can put it on and you're in the city, and all that stuff. Oh, you're looking around. That's really cool, right? But there's a part of it that your brain just takes over and just thinks, oh, like, this is my reality now, right? Like,
Oh, so
and it's funny because there's this.
did
one,
you notice a switch? Like,
you're depends on like the more that you play it, the more that you can catch yourself.
Okay.
Like you're like, okay, yeah, I'm not actually like flying through the sky here,
Right.
But like there's one where it's called the plank, and you basically go up an elevator.
Okay.
The elevator door opens, and there's a plank that goes outside of the building, and you look down, and it's just like, the ground, right? And it's funny because there's like these people who are like, they really cannot walk the plank. And there was one time where we had a party here, and everybody was trying it on, and they go up the plank, and this one girl like literally dropped to the ground, like
scared.
no,
like
super scared, like I really cannot do this.
wow.
And it depends on how you are, but like
So
it's
just
pretty cool.
So then, this is virtual reality. This is
Virtual
not
rea-
augmented
No,
reality.
this is not augmented where you can
Okay.
see your world and you
Right,
can,
and you can extrapolate
Yeah.
like objects and things. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll try them though because
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. There's so many. I feel like so many useful functionalities that could help school education, meetings.
yeah.
I don't know, appointments. Like there's half of the appointments that I don't have to go to. I can just be there virtually with an agent
I
providing
remember
the information.
a long time ago, I went to a conference, and the guy was talking
Conferences.
about he was working for this medical field, and they wanted to have like nurses wear this that would like scan the whole arm and know like whether like how deep the wound is, things like that, like little, all these different things,
Yeah.
and like basically help them, assist them as they're working,
Right, right.
That
Right.
was really cool.
The other, I mean, that and now I'm like, I watch a lot of math videos because now, back in the day when I was like learning like math and like linear algebra, like there were no like visual aids of, like vector spaces and
Yeah.
like distributions. And now you can like actually submerge yourself into like a visualization and everything makes sense, right? At least for me, like I'm a very visual type of person.
Yeah.
So I love when I can associate like some theory to like a visual thing.
That's
It's
awesome.
amazing. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited about that.
I don't know, like like watching YouTube all the time, your algorithm changes all the time into what
True.
you're used to, and I don't know how we got there, but there was a period of time where all the algorithm was feeding me is like math video, math
Yeah.
problems, like like, oh, there's a triangle inside a circle, and the circle has a radius of this. What's the angle of this triangle here, right? Like things like that, and okay, let's break that down and all
Really?
this stuff. And for some reason it was like, oh yeah, this is really cool, and I kept watching it, like, and
just
the
kept on
algorithm
feeding
just
you.
became like more and more. He likes math videos, let's
Here
give him
you go.
more.
Yeah. I feel like there has to be a better way to train those algorithms. What I do myself is that I have multiple accounts, and every account has like a topic.
Okay.
So because sometimes I'm in a mindset and I want to watch like certain type of videos, and same thing on Instagram, same thing on like any social media that I use. I have to have multiple accounts because I know the algorithm and I don't want to always be bombarded with some type of information. And that's the only way that I've been able to like control it. But I feel like
that's
that's
cool.
not optimal. I feel like there should be a better way of like them knowing what is it that you're doing at the moment.
Like hook it up to my iPhone,
Something.
like
Yeah.
I'm in work mode right
Exactly,
now.
or
Only show
mood,
me, like-
exactly, or like, hey, right now I'm in math mode, or
Yeah.
sometimes I'm in like, I don't know, music video mode, and that's it, right? But if you start seeing like math and then sports and then music all at once,
Yeah.
you might not like. I feel like it should be better. It should be that better.
It should be, because
Yeah.
it's like mine is just like full of like jiu-jitsu and chess and asses. I don't know. I didn't. it
This is
just
what
shows up.
the model.
It just,
The algorithm.
It's the algorithm, honey. I swear. Like,
To me, it was I had to stop. It was like dogs videos.
Yeah.
You know, like I like dogs and I like animals. Oh, there was a time it was like horses and dogs, and I was like, okay, this is great, but I want to watch something else. But you're not getting that. I want to watch something else right now. But it's funny.
When we were going to Japan, it's like leading up to it, it's like you just start getting like all these Japanese travel, like videos.
Yes.
And then after I come back, I'm like, like I'm talking to my phone, like I already came back. I don't need this anymore.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's like you just kept getting it.
Yes. They don't know when to stop, right?
And same thing, like you buy something, and you're like, okay, I looked it up, I bought it, and it's like, and I'm getting the ads for it. It's like I already bought it. Like I don't.
That's it.
Need this.
Like
anymore,
move on,
right? Like
I already move on. You should
Yeah,
move on,
yeah.
right?
But predictable model kind of thing. Like Target, I know had like ads that were so accurate that people were getting freaked out.
Did you ever heard one of the first big cases for like ads problems was with Target? I don't know if you know that story.
Which one?
Where
There's a
there was a
couple,
bunch of, there was a family. I think some parents were starting getting pregnancy products.
Yeah.
And I think they actually contacted Target and they were like, why are you sending me like pregnancy like information? Like nobody's and the daughter was pregnant and he didn't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like here you want diapers, right?
Exactly. It's like what?
It's like no we don't. Yes you do.
Hey, you don't know it yet, but you will need it soon.
That's
I mean,
there was like a meme that was like, my dad says you're always listening. It's like, no, and he's not your dad. That's not true. And no, he's not, and he's not your dad. But it's so true, man. It's like it gets so like that they actually had to scale it back and throw random stuff, not actual stuff that you might buy or might get to know the stuff, just to not scare people of how accurate it is.
What do you think of that?
I think, like you said, right? Everything is a tool, right? You can build a house with a brick, or with a hammer, or you can break a window, right? If you overuse it, if you people who like basically rely on it, like is God, or like are on it all the time. I mean, we tell our kids like, obviously they're gonna use their phones, obviously they're gonna use this and that other stuff, but there's time limits of this and that. But I also encourage them. I say, hey, one loves languages. So it's like, you want to learn languages, you can have unlimited time of the phone when it comes to learning languages.
Awesome. Duolingo or
Duolingo, yeah, we all do Duolingo.
Yeah, same here.
And it's like, or learning the piano. It's like, you want to look up something on the piano, you can do that.
For some reason, I'm getting targeted by piano ads all the time now. But I haven't played the piano in more than 20 years, but I watch them because it's so cool. If back in the day, I would have like, you can put your cell phone
and the notes falling
and you see them, and it tells you like, and you can teach it, like you can assign the motion, let's say for the left hand or the right hand, and it'll tell you based on what it's seeing your hands doing, how you're doing it, and it puts the sound of the piano, like it syncs it to what is expected, so it notes if you're off or on the rhythm. I just keep on watching it, so I keep on getting the ad, even though like I don't play piano, I don't even have a piano, but I'm getting it. I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Times where I'm like getting like videos of like plumbers and electricians like putting out like and I'm like, I don't know. I watch it, but like, it's not something I'm really like.
But I watch it. Well, Instagram was just announcing that they're gonna start like doing non-skippable ads now.
Non-skippable. Right?
Yeah, just like Google, YouTube, I guess.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
it sucks. I want to like
give the money, man. Like you can't think that something is like free and like they're taking up how much data space. Like,
I mean,
like
if it's free, you're the product, right?
Yeah, you are the product, right? Like,
but having like, I do like ads because, in the sense of, it helped me find out things that I want and I need and I might be interested in right? Like, back in the day, trying to get something that you wanted, it was so difficult. Now you just type it somewhere and you see all the options where you can get it from.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, of course, that's more positive about it, but it's,
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
It's also helped me get a lot of stuff that I do
That you don't
not need.
well.
like I don't know if you ever seen, but like there's these knife, sharpeners. That you like slap it into like a magnet, and then you can sharpen all the knives.
Oh,
all
no,
this stuff.
I hadn't.
It's really cool, but it's like like I was like, oh, that is awesome. I love it. Let me buy that. It's like I used it to sharpen all our knives, but it's like, okay, that's.
Well, that was the purpose, though.
Every once in a while I'll whip it out and sharpen something that it's not, sharp. But like, it's like, I really didn't need it. Like, it was nice to have, but yeah, like it's cool.
Nice. Anyhow, that's how I got into AI.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Like, if we can go back a little bit more and talk about like, you came from Venezuela just to study, right?
No.
Or you came before that?
No. So my family and we moved to the States in 2004 because of Chavez at the time in Venezuela. Yeah. So it wasn't because of even studying. It was just
immigration.
Just immigration.
Yeah.
We at the time there was a referendum in Venezuela to throw the government away, and he won that referendum. He did want it. I don't know if he won it legitimately, but for my understanding, he did want it. But he made all the votes public, so everybody that voted against him was targeted in some kind of way. And so that's after that, we had to move, and most of my family is out of the country. Start moving out of the country, so that's why we came.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, it was more. It was an education. Oh.
Yeah, we came in '97.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was 10 years old. I don't know like how.
It's about the same age, 12.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So do you guys just move directly to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area?
We moved to Philadelphia. My dad came first, and then a year later, we all came, and Philly and all this. I mean, we were living in a pretty bad area of Philly, like West Philly and all that. And
it has changed. It's. I mean,
now it's all like reformed and all this stuff or whatever you want to call it. But like it was pretty bad. Like when we came in, sure. it was like like there was like drive-bys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you grow up. It's really weird because I can tell you the exact moment that there was a turning point in my life that I felt that okay, I want to do the right thing versus the wrong thing, because I had the option of like maybe getting involved in drugs and selling and all kinds of stuff like that, and I turned it down, or I didn't, and this is how we got this house. No, but it was my dad had, and I might have told this on the podcast before, but like my dad had a Rolex that was just on his thing, and I took it one time and wore it to school. Okay. And everybody was like, "Oh man, nice," blah blah blah. And this guy came up to me and he's like, "Yeah, nice Rolex, except it's fake." And that's the reason my dad never wore it. It was like a joke gift that he got from New York or something like that for like $5. Like when he first came here, somebody was like, "Oh, here, let me buy you a Rolex." But
interesting.
Yeah, like the guy was like, "Oh, I know it's fake." And I was like, "How do you know it's fake?" He's like, "Because yours ticks and mine glides," and he had a real Rolex.
Like is that how it is?
And
did you ever like actually look? Yeah.
Okay. Like the Rolex doesn't tick. It glides. The second hand.
Good to know.
Yeah. But
when I use my fake Rolex, I'll make sure.
When I get the fake Rolex, I get the one that glides.
It's gliding. I just move my hand.
Yeah. But like and I was like, how are you able to afford being a high school? So it's like, well, I just drop some packages for this guy, and he gives me $100 every time, and if you want, I can get you involved in that.
Wow.
And
That's a
You know,
close call.
it's like literally like where you have the little angel and devil in your shoulder,
Yeah.
and you start thinking, you know, and it's like, no thanks, you know.
Yeah.
And
That's
I give a
important.
lot of credit, I think, to having a full family at home and
Right.
having that structure there, because I think part of the reason a lot of kids and all this stuff, especially in that area,
Right.
that fall into, it's because they look up
Mm-hmm.
to people like that, and they don't have the father figure or somebody they look up
Yeah.
to get. But you know,
No.
that's definitely a huge, you know, like pivot in my life. And then we moved out of there, and I was able to go to a nice high
Nice.
school.
That's good.
But
No, and like you said, like I know your parents, they're amazing, amazing, like people.
I mean, they're all right.
No, they're amazing. They're amazing. They're they're like family to me. They are great, great, great people. Great values, amazing spirit, right? So yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you and
That
your
I chose
sister and
the
your
right.
brother just made the right decision.
Yeah.
I was a little lucky in that sense because I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Okay.
And even though we were like we didn't have anything either, it was a very safe town, very family oriented. Um, I mean, sure there were people, and I'm sure there were drugs, but I was never actually even close to any that type. And I'm sure my parents, without me noticing it, tried to keep us away in some kind of way from that. I play a lot of sports too, so that helped.
Yeah.
A
Structure
lot.
and sports help a
Yeah,
lot
yeah, and
for children.
great friends, great environment, always keeping me busy, always doing, trying to do things, positive things for my body, for my health, for my mind when I was in school. So I was lucky in that sense. I feel like college was that point where I had to make more decisions because I was out of that family safe
Structure.
environment,
Yeah.
and it wasn't in the sense of like let's say like that scenario of like being drugs or that type of thing, but it was more about, okay, what is it that I want to do in my life? I want to
Yeah.
make sure that I take on this opportunity and make the best out of it, and some sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
But
No, that's yeah. For me, it was like also like another one was when we were gonna have the second kid. Like that's when, even though I had a career already going,
okay,
I in my head I'm like, I need to make more money. Like there's
That
gonna be
was
another daycare. There's gonna be this and that, and it really like kicked myself in the butt to kind of get going
okay.
more and thinking about like moving up and everything else before that. It was like almost like it's like I took it as the things came by, and it's like we're gonna have a great kid, awesome, and
Okay.
and there was like a thing of it that's like, okay, well, like we weren't doing great,
Sure.
but we were doing okay.
Yeah.
And there's times where we went to Costco, and they're like, okay, well, the $60 annual fee is due. Can I was like, well, I can't pay that, so I guess I'm leaving the groceries here.
Oh,
Like
okay. To
like
that
things like
point.
that. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, we're not doing bad, but like little luxuries like that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I can't. We weren't. Well, I wasn't managing my money well either.
Sure.
But like the point being that after like we were gonna have the second kid, I was like, oh, I need to get off my ass and really like get my life
Produce. Yeah.
better, produce more for my family and all that stuff. And
But you were mentioning that at that stage, like you had already a good career. You were already.
I started already like in, I think let me think about this, 2010. It was when Ale was born. In 2014 Chandra was born, so I already started like dabbling into like computers and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so I started like the career of like, okay,
Oh, okay. That's when you were
Yeah.
actually starting into that, moving
Yeah.
into that path. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm in a similar situation now where we don't have a child yet, but we are planning on maybe a year from now.
hmm
And yeah, like you, I'm thinking about like all the things that you just don't think about it when it's you.
Yeah.
First of all, you and yourself, and then you and your wife, and now it's kids, it's school areas,
Yeah.
and like houses, and
There's like
better
a
environment.
meme
Or
out there that it's like a guy in a yacht and it says like, if my kid stops, playing, travel baseball or whatever, right? I won't tell anybody, but there will be signs. It's like, yeah, he finally has a yacht, right? Like 'cause it's like there's so much money that goes into those kids,
sure,
kids, but
yeah,
that you don't even think about, and it's like it's
yeah,
crazy,
it is.
but
It is.
at the same time, it's all worth it.
I think so too.
It is.
I think so too.
Like giving them like those opportunities.
Yeah,
That, and there's like a balance that you have to find between giving them everything and not letting them spoil kids.
right. And I like what you said before. Like there's things that you should, like you said, language usage of an app. If
Mhm.
you're gonna learn something useful, right? It's
Yeah.
like great, yeah. Like I feel like as a parent, I agree with that statement. Like as I will want to be a parent,
Yeah.
I agree with that statement that if it's something that you agree with and is gonna help them a lot,
Yeah.
give them all, right?
Yeah.
Like why not? But if it's something is it might be a distraction or it just might be just a pass the time, then be mindful.
Yeah.
I think so.
But I think it's also like giving them different challenges that
Sure.
they have to, because us growing up, whether it be like coming to a new country, making new friends, like all this different stuff that we had to accomplish, learning a different language, we had struggles, and those struggles to me are the character builder of who we
Right.
are today, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times you see this in people who are like, you know, like I'm gonna use air quotes here, but like successful, right, in their field or anything, or have like their life together, like they do that, and then they have the children, and the children become like messed up because it's like they give them everything. But like if you give them challenges, whether it be challenges that we got naturally by like
Yeah.
immigrating here and all that, uh, or they're not gonna get that, so give them different challenges, whether it be physical challenges to like, okay, well, you have to do a sport, and you have to do well, and you have to like basically practice all the time, things like that, right? Or languages, like mental challenges, all this stuff. Let them have their own struggles. Is gonna become their character builder.
That, and I'm also thinking, because of course I think about that. My wife and I, we work a lot, right? Like, and so time is limited, and so I'm also thinking that like very successful people, unfortunately, I don't know to what extent they don't spend enough time maybe raising and providing that like that knowledge,
I
that
think
wisdom
not
to their
having enough time is a cop out.
yeah.
And I think no matter how much you work, because we both work, right? Like my wife and I both work, and we always make time for the kids,
Exactly.
right? And I volunteer for their scouts, and they do all these different activities, whether it be jiu-jitsu, soccer, piano, violin, everything like that, and we manage it. And
Right.
at the same time, I have time to like basically play chess and do jiu-jitsu, and lift weights, and then go hunting and all that
Right.
stuff. It's like you can make the time. It's how what sacrifices do you want to make?
Correct.
It's like, what are your priorities? If
So,
you're-
what sacrifices do you usually have made, like when allocating your personal time to the family time, for instance? Because I see you and you do have like all these amazing hobbies, right? And it's awesome because
Yeah.
you know so many things, you try so many things, right? But like you said, like I'm sure you have had to make other sacrifices that I'm unable to see. So
I don't know, really.
I don't make sacrifices.
No, like the sacrifice is that I don't sit around and watch sports.
Okay.
Like some people like that,
Right.
like I know that, and good for you, like if you do, but that's just not me, right? Like
Okay.
I'm not gonna spend the whole Sunday afternoon like watching three
Okay.
different games from like the European League, the Mexican League, and all that stuff. and or like watching football and all this. I don't do that.
Do
Right?
you watch like TV series and stuff like that either, or
Like we watch with my wife, like before going to bed, like we'll watch something,
okay,
you know, and all that stuff. Or here and there, like as I'm working, I might put something in the background.
okay, but it's
Uh,
not some like you don't spend that much time frequently like
on
watch on
TV,
TV and
no.
stuff. Okay.
It's mostly podcasts, audiobooks,
Mm-hmm.
um, everything like that. So
Nice.
in that sense, like I don't know if you call it a sacrifice, but it's something that for me personally, like I think I save a lot of time
Right.
compared to other people. It's
Sure.
like I know,
Makes sense.
you know, there's many people who like sports is their life, and that's cool. It's
Yeah.
just not mine, right? Like, or like they'll want to like sit there and like scroll away their life, you know, like watching
Yeah.
something on their phone and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, I I doom scroll, like especially like I'm at work, whatever. I need to, you know, wait for something to finish. It's like, you know, I'll scroll away and then watch something and all that stuff. But at the same time, I feel like I manage my time pretty well. Where it's like I wake up early in the morning before everybody wakes up. Normally, there's like a workout or something like Wednesdays now. I started going to this place that has like 5 a.m. jiu-jitsu. So
Okay.
it's like, okay, go there, come back, you know, like get shower. I play chess. You know, it's like I dedicate like, okay, 10 minutes for chess. It's like that's for me 5 games because I play like 1 minute blitz, you know, like
Okay.
so it's like get that done. It's like do Duolingo and learn another
Yeah.
language.
Less than
You know,
5 minutes.
like this and
That's
that.
it. You
Like
got the streak
do
going.
that, get my
Mhm.
streak going, you know, whatever. But like, you know, like listening to audiobooks and do
Yeah.
that while you know while I work or something like that. So there, it's like I'm managing my time by like breaking it out into
Mhm.
like smaller portions and all this stuff, and then everything else is scheduled, right?
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So not really sacrifice, but just basically priorities of where you want to spend
Yeah.
your time.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Right now, I do play sports. I'm playing more sports now. But I had to stop. I'm living right now in Puerto Rico, and I
Yeah.
used to be able to. I used to want and try to go to the beach or a
Mm-hmm.
different beach every weekend, just because I love the water. But now I have had to like stop it a little bit because I just have to make sure that my time goes into
Yeah.
the right things, right? But I still do it. It's just not as often. So that's why I was like, well, that's my sacrifice. So some weekends I just don't enjoy the beach as much as I would have liked.
Yeah.
But hey,
No, even like going outside, like we have a pool,
Mhm.
and even going outside to the pool, like sometimes I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna go like, and I go one time in the water, and I get out and I see leaves, and I start like doing the leaves and doing this and doing that, and it turns into work, and then it just like
Pleasure turn into work.
Yeah, like every time it's like, oh my god, like every time I want to do something, it's like it just turns into something
Into
else.
something-
But so
something productive.
yeah, it's productive. It's all that stuff, but there's my sacrifice,
There
right?
you
Like
go.
I don't get to spend that much time like laying down, you know, that I
True.
do. But I do have a lot of hobbies. I like to do a lot of things, and you know, either
That's
I
awesome.
have the time for it or I don't. I mean, for the past couple of weeks, like both my buddy and I have been like in different schedules, and we weren't able to like make a podcast or a workout happen, you know. But other than that, you know, I try to make it happen.
That's
you know,
awesome.
when I
Yeah.
well, Jorge, I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
Appreciate it, though.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.